All right, everybody, welcome in. Today we continue our quest at the $2 million, the grand prize of Best Ball Mania 7. So we're going to hop into a draft immediately. We're going to run two of them today. All right, we have about, 90 drafts left to do on Underdog, so we got a ways to go here. It will be a busy, busy August for drafting. There's a few things I want to do as I get closer to the season, and that's start to become less flat in my exposures. Early on, I try to get exposure to lots of different players, but as the season gets closer, I want to start making my stands with some high conviction bets on my favorite targets. But I just want to make sure that as the season gets closer, that we get as much information as possible. You want to make sure that no one's hurt, of course, when you're putting a lot of weight into one guy. You'd hate for him to pull a hammy 2 weeks before the season starts, but you have to sometimes, generally, unless you're going to put all your drafts in the last 2 weeks. But that's a whole other discussion on drafting early and late. I like to do about 50 early when the contest drops in late April, early May. I like to do about 50 over the next 2 to 3 months, and then really save the majority of my entries for the last month, last 2 to 3 weeks, really. So we're going to keep a regular sort of schedule, do a couple a day, and then it'd probably end up being 3 or 4 a day as it gets closer to the season. It's been a bit slow to fill this morning. This is unusual. Yeah, I kind of refuse to entertain a great deal while we're just waiting for these things to load. So it gives you an opportunity to either skip forward in this video if you're watching later, or simply do something else in the meanwhile. Can't have it all in life. You can't get a streamer looking at nothing. Maybe that's a lack of talent, maybe it's a lack of desire, but I'm just not going to do it, right? I'm not going to do it. All right. And we're off. Let's see what pick we pull here. 102. All right, let's take a look at our exposures here. Thanks to the solver from Establish the Run. As you can see, well, we got to filter these down to our Best Ball Mania entries only. So we got 60 entries. You can see our exposures are somewhat balanced, some more than others. 5% Gibbs, 6% Bijan, 10% Jamar. I'm tempted to keep hammering Jamar. I do love me some Jamar Chase. Over Bijan can be a little tough because you could argue Bijan should be the number 1 pick. I mean, you could argue all these top 4 guys, I think, should be the number 1 pick. So we'll see what happens here. I will probably just keep going Bijan because a lot of times people will pass on Jamar at 3 and go Puka. So I'm not too worried about not getting enough exposure given I'm already at 10% here. Yep, we will start Bijan, one of their best young pass rushers. It was Jalen Walker, just went down, season-ending injury, so their pass rush and their defense as a whole is hurt. Jalen Walker torn ACL, gonna miss the whole season. So crushing start for the Falcons there. Not the way you want to start the season as a team, but in terms of fantasy, you don't always want strong defenses. Ideally, you want to be in these environments where your offense is really good, but your defense is really bad, so it forces your offense to put up a lot of points. In this situation, I'm not sure Atlanta can necessarily hang with everybody. I mean, they're not going to win a lot of games, obviously, but they can try. Between Tua and Penix, I think there's a high enough floor that everyone should be okay, especially Bijan. Checkdowns from Tua. He played pretty well with Penix as well, so I'm not worried about Bijan. It's more so just more of your second or third options, which there really aren't. I mean, it's Bijan, London, and Pitts, and then everybody else in Atlanta. So in general, there's a few guys I want to bet on, and Jalen Walker going down, that doesn't change anything. It would really only help. Let's check out our board here. Nothing crazy happening early on here. Everyone is behaving. Nothing crazy. Everyone's following ADP generally. Pull up our combo exposures here. You can see our combos. It's hard to get these guys coming back to Bijan. Nico could get there today. As you can see, I have a lot of Bijan Pickens, a lot of Bijan Love, Bijan Smith. A lot of these Best Ball Manias I did months ago. I haven't done a ton on Underdog lately, but now's the time. Now's where we start to hammer. Would prefer to get a little Nico coming back here. And we do. All right, I like that. I like the Texans' offense this year. I think they're due for a bit of a bounce back. I think a lot of the Texans are undervalued. Stroud, Collins to some extent, Jaden Higgins. Even David Montgomery, I think, is slightly undervalued, you can argue. Maybe we'll go a little Neighbors here if he gets back. Definitely prefer Neighbors over Smith straight up. As you can see, I'm light on my Neighbors exposure. I was one of the suckers who thought Neighbors was going to be put on PUP and that his ADP was going to only keep falling. Neighbors goes. That's unfortunate. Well, looks like we are going to keep drafting Jeremiah Love. What's one more? All right, so we have our Bijan, Nico, Jeremiah Love start. Look at that. Tootin going at the 3-3. That's wild. Typically, he's going, full 2 rounds later. But hey, you got to shoot for upside, and yeah, Tootin is a player to target this year. As much upside as he could be a second round pick next year if things go right. But no need to do that, really, in my opinion. Trey McBride is continuing his fall. People are realizing how voluminous that Cardinals passing offense was last year and how it's unlikely to be the same this year. They look at the strength of schedule, hardest schedule in the league, the idea that Carson Beck is going to be likely the starter, maybe Gardner Minshew down the stretch over Jacoby Brissett, so it could just be a lot worse of a situation for McBride this year than last year. And he's just due for some regression anyways. So, I mean, late third round is certainly a fair price because if you're expecting McBride to do what he did last year, he'd be a first round pick. So, perfectly fine here. I'd be happy to take him at the 310. That's a nice price. The only other problem, though, is that advance rates for early tight end are typically not very good in best ball. So, that's another reason why he falls as well. It's the game aspect of best ball and historical data through 6 seasons on Underdog. But I like to mix them in. I'm certainly not opposed to drafting these guys. You want to be drafting pretty much every player, especially guys like Brock Bowers who have the chance to be one of the guys you need in fantasy football this year. Half PPR, like him slightly less, just because I still don't think the Raiders' offense is going to be that good. Full PPR sites, big into Bowers. Waddle's kind of come back to earth. He got a lot of hype 2 to 3 weeks ago from, popular fantasy outlets. And now he's consistently, again, behind McMillan, which that would not be me. McMillan's a great player. He's gonna be really good, but he has a Bryce Young problem, a Dave Canales problem with Bryce Young. You won't let Bryce Young drop back. Low volume passing offense. He'd really have to dominate targets in a way like JSN did last year. But no one's done that. No one does that, what JSN did last year. Oh, I fell asleep at the wheel there. But we got lucked out. We got Bird. I'll take that. I'm hoping they don't take Loveland here. I'd love to get a Loveland on the way back with Burden. If I'm him, I'm going McLaurin, Loveland, and leaving me with these guys. So there goes Loveland. Prefer McLaurin here over Evans. He goes Judkins. All right. So we take McLaurin. Now we have a 0-2-3-0 start here. We've got our running backs laid out. 3 good receiver options here, both at ADP values. Burden fell 4 picks past. McLaurin 6 picks past. That was a nice little gift. So we're shaping up here. We'll start to look at our quarterbacks to stack with our pass catchers. CJ Stroud goes later. We'll see what happens around the 5-6 turn. Bringing back, a lot of times Jaden Daniels we'll go here, but oftentimes he does get back to the McLaurin drafter, so we might get a little Jaden Daniels value today, or we'll go Caleb Williams. It's always fun drafting Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, really, but hard not to love the Bears. This is outrageous, Brian Thomas in the 5th. I don't know. I guess there's Brian Thomas guys out there, but I'm not one of them. Ahead of... Where did Parker Washington go? Oh, right here. Yeah, it's getting a little expensive on Parker Washington for sure, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah, perfect style of player for what they want to do. Over the middle, catch and run, a lot of targets. Parker Washington could have a massive year. Liam Cohen offenses go burr. So Jacksonville, Parker Washington, Bachel Tootin, 2 guys you want to have. Not so much, Trevor Lawrence obviously as the enabler of the offense, should have a good year, but he did run in a lot of touchdowns last year that I don't think is necessarily going to repeat. So I more want to lean into the running backs and then Parker Washington here. I think Lawrence's price is a little bit rich. Daniels continues to come back here, but we got 4 guys that need a quarterback, and Daniels is one of those guys that you don't necessarily need to stack just because he's so good. So if it doesn't get back, it wouldn't hurt my feelings, but I would be disappointed. Would be all right with a little Tyler Warren action here as well. He's falling past ADP. Caleb goes. Don't do it. Don't take Daniels. He'll probably go Warren here. We will see. I would love to get Daniels because Cultron here, the 2 picks between me, he already has Loveland. So let's see if we can get Tyler Warren coming back. That would be just awesome. But let's see if this guy has a pair of balls and goes double elite tight end. He does. I respect it. That's a bummer. So we got a couple options here. Keep building out running back. This seems to be kind of the end of a tier here, Jaylen Warren. I'm not a Pollard or Chuba guy. And then you kind of get into the 1B area, whereas I consider Jaylen Warren more of the 1A. Lots of target upside. I like Mekhi Lemon a lot too, but would like to get Warren here just in case Love struggles a bit out of the gate. I want to have another strong option here. So we can always make up for receiver. Lemon's getting pricey too. Early 4th for a rookie on what is unlikely to be a high volume, most likely a low volume passing offense. I think the Eagles lean into the run this year. Then you have Devontae Smith. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. And Dontavian Wicks. Wicks might be more of a problem early. I'm not sure how long he can hang in there. Wicks is a good target earner. Guy gets open. It's just the hands are the issue. But it might be a tough start for Lemon. I'd expect a pretty nice finish for him, but how much are you willing to take that in the 7th round if he's not going to do a whole lot for you out of the gate? All right, let's check back in on the board here. Yeah, nothing too crazy going on. Let's check back in on the Tootin Tootin' guy. He loves the Jags. He goes tootin'. Henderson, Washington doubles up on the Pats running backs. Not smart to do that, in my opinion. You want to make your bet on one guy, especially when it gets to the playoffs and you have Henderson and Stevenson. One guy goes off, the other guy's a dud. He'd be better off spending this pick on a receiver, tight end. I mean, he could have gone Tyler Warren right here at a value, and he goes Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, unwise. All right, let's see what we got coming back here. Alec Pierce falling to 95. I think I'd entertain that. Also be fine with Laporta. Pierce goes, Godwin goes, Sam Laporta. Come on down. I'm going to hone in on Michael Pittman here, because that's another end of a tier in my opinion. No one likes Xavier. No one likes to draft Xavier Worthy. Except that guy. Thank you. I mean, the Lions are set up to be all right, coming back up here. We got Jared Goff, opportunity to get him at a falling value. Would kind of like to get Jaden Higgins here. I don't really trust the other guy to pass on him. So, does he have any Lions? He has Gibbs. Well, time's up. If Higgins doesn't come back, I'll be disappointed, but only myself to blame. We do have a good amount of Higgins, though. I mean, 20% already. I guess we shouldn't go overboard, but I think he's a good value. I do. There he goes. See, and then you're left with just these poverty receivers, dude. Khalil Shakir, Jalen Coker. I mean, get the fuck out of here. No one wants that shit. I'm not taking Aaron Jones. Kelsey. I mean, you're killing me. Fuck, I'll go Kincaid. Painful. God, that sucked. Yep, sharper guy. Probably go Higgins here. Makes the bet that guy will pass on Goff. He has Gibbs and Loveland, though, so there's reasons to want that Week 17 correlation stacking with Gibbs there. He's got Mahomes. He could have used a second quarterback, so he might have gone Goff. I mean, but, hindsight. Now we have two tight ends. We don't really need a third one. I mean, you'd like to look at Chigakonkwo here with Jaden Daniels, but that's a lot to be spending at tight end like that. When you could argue we gotta keep filling out running back, receiver. We're good on quarterbacks. We'll probably stop at 2 here unless we get a falling Stroud, or maybe we might tack on Rodgers at the end just for the sake of our Steelers bet. Travis Hunter. Excuse me. Travis Hunter. I will not be clicking Travis Hunter in the 12th round. That's nuts. There goes Chig. I mean, it's like, yeah, let's draft Jordan Addison, who plays what 30% of offensive snaps in the 12th round. You're kidding me? I mean, Omar Cooper's right there, first round receiver, full snaps. Kenyon Sadiq's hurt, one of his biggest target competitions in that part of the field. I mean, you're taking Hunter over Omar Cooper. I mean, you're just not going to make it. So we're gonna pass on Stroud here. We'll go Cooper instead. Much more important to get that fifth receiver than a third quarterback, even though it would be nice to stack him up there with Nico. All right. Omar Cooper, come on down. Stroud comes back, we'll consider it. Stribling's also intriguing, but so is Boston. And we got to wait a long time for those picks to come back between our two here, so you don't really want to. It's hard to think ahead on those. Go Stribling. I do think I want to push this quarterback. I don't want to. I'll just go Rodgers later. I can go Rodgers in 2 or 3 more rounds here. He goes Naylor. Naylor over Denzel Boston is crazy. So we're going to go Boston here. So much more upside. High end round 2 rookie versus Jalen Naylor. I mean, you can argue there's certainly a certain amount of downside with Boston. You know, they have another first round receiver, Casey Concepcion. Jerry Jeudy probably still stands to get a lot of work this year, and then Shedeur Sanders as your quarterback. But I don't know. I think the Browns could be a little better than we're thinking. I like Monken. Sanders has shown a little bit of ceiling back to last year. I mean, he had one big game. You don't want to bank on that, but he's certainly going to beat out Watson. And your 2 quarterback, maybe Shedeur takes a little bit of a leap and becomes a low end, below average quarterback, but enough to enable a good enough offense that retooled its offensive line. Well, it lost a lot. I mean, offensive line's a big question mark, but you put Justin Herbert on the Browns, and you're saying that's like a top. You get really excited about that offense because of the weapons and the coach. So I'm telling myself a story here, of course. But I like Boston, the prospect. He's been playing well in camp. I like to bet on upside here. So we have 6 pretty strong receivers. I like the way this receiving core looks. Like our tight ends. Running backs will be obviously what most rosters hinge on, of course. So through 13 rounds here, I'm feeling pretty good. Certainly another entry on the pile, but one that so far I'm walking away happy with. All right. It's time to start looking at these higher end running backs as far as, high end handcuffs or some guys with standalone roles. A guy like Dylan Sampson has a standalone role. Jaden Blue has gotten expensive already. Ray Davis, elite handcuff. Or Isaac Tesla. He'll be coming back. We can get him later. We'll pass on Sadiq. So I'm thinking I would like some Williams here though as well. Bit of a tough call here, but let's get the running back first. Let's go Dylan Sampson here. Continue our Browns bet. And then we'll get either Tesla or Williams coming back to stack up with our quarterbacks. Tesla with Goff, Williams with Daniels. Williams is obviously a lot better prospect. Tesla was really athletic, but it doesn't do a lot for you in terms of getting open. But, you score touchdowns. People love a guy like Tesla who, he's crazy athletic. A lot of touchdowns last year. If he gets a full-time role, he could do something if you can scheme him up. But, yeah, in general, it's a bet. Because of the Week 17 correlation, anything can happen. Tesla goes for a touchdown or two. You're having a great time. So I think we'll take the guy with the locked-in role over Antonio Williams this time. But he's not a guy that you're going to expect to be a consistent producer for you. So it would have been nice to get both those receivers, but unnecessary given what we put into him earlier and the need for running back at that point. So getting these running backs, it's like eating your vegetables. Terrence Ferguson, a premier late round tight end option, still going in the 15th, which is pretty nice despite the amount of buzz on him. Potential third wide receiver in that offense as a tight end. One of the best offenses in the league in the Rams. I think I left out of that list earlier of offenses you want to target, but the Rams are certainly one of them. So Aaron Rodgers is gone, and that's okay. It wasn't necessary. He went at the other end of things. So he wasn't a guy that I was going to reach on. If he came around in a reasonable area, that's great. But otherwise, two really solid options here. If Daniels isn't starting for us almost every week, then this team isn't going to go anywhere anyways. Yeah, because McLaurin will be failing. So, yeah, those are things I like to think about during these drafts. Oops. All right. There goes Ferguson. He's a guy that I would tack on as a third with the upside. Can also flex him if he's having big weeks. So Geno comes back here, telling us it's a good opportunity to pair him with Omar Cooper. And that is something I will consider. Judy's falling here. There goes Geno and Judy. Tragic. See what we got here at running back. Nothing I feel especially compelled to reach for. Might go Katron with the second pick here. But let's go. I'm going to go Cade Otton. Not really interested in Greg Dulcich that much. For a guy who hasn't done much throughout his career in the worst offense in football, that'll probably throw the ball the least. It's a tough bet to make versus Cade Otton, who's going to be on a good offense, one of the highest pass volumes in the league, has been pretty good without Mike Evans there. We'll see what happens. They have some other good weapons too. Jalen McMillan, Ted Hurst, the rookie, has gotten a little bit of buzz. But let's get our Katron Allen in here over Sean Tucker. Which could be a mistake. Maybe, maybe not. I think it's easier to see Katron Allen taking over his backfield versus Sean Tucker. Bucky, obviously, clearly more talented. Then you have Kenny Gainwell as well, who isn't going to factor in as much on the ground, more so of a receiving back. But Katron's got an easier path with JCM being round 7, second-year guy, and then Rachaad White, who they only gave a little bit of money to. You can see Katron easily being the best running back and could be their goal line guy. You know, he could be a new Sean Tucker plus with room to go. So I wanted to do that with the Jaden Daniels bet as well. If this offense is humming, gives Katron a lot of opportunities to fall into the end zone. All right, we'll probably stop at 5 there for the running backs. We might tack on one more receiver here. Jacoby Lane's been getting the hype as the rookie in Baltimore. Surratt was the guy everyone was taking more because he was the better prospect, much better analytical profile. Led college football in touchdowns last year, and there goes Lane. Yep, people are reacting to the news. But this is good for the Surratt camp, that his price falls and you can get him with your last pick, whereas he was climbing a little bit. He was going 17th round, 16th round sometimes. So actually not the 16th. But he's a guy I like to tack on last. I mean, he's just so much a better bet than a lot of these guys. I mean, Ted Hurst, way later. These guys, none of these guys can hold a candle to Surratt as far as their prospect profile. So that's what I want to bet on here with Surratt. I mean, just because Lane has the early advantage, he has the third round capital versus the fourth, that makes a difference. They chose Lane first. But it's a long season. A lot of things can happen. And he's the outside guy. So he's more of a threat to Rashad Bateman's role. He could be the wide receiver 2 to Zay Flowers, but really, if you get Surratt on the field, he'll be the big slot over the middle. He has just as much upside despite not getting the hype in camp. So Surratt's a guy that I'm going to continue to bet on. There we go. And that'll do it for us here on that first draft. We'll do another one here. I'll recap this first one here quick. So we ended up with a 2-5-8-3 build. Pretty common. Jaden Daniels and Goff, Bijan, Love, Warren, Sampson, Katron, Nico Collins, Luther Burden, Terry McLaurin, Michael Pittman, Omar Cooper, Denzel Boston, Isaac Tesla, Elijah Surratt. So we have 3 rookie wide receivers here: Cooper, Boston, Surratt, all respectable profiles. We have our I'm tweaking. Nico, Burden, McLaurin, Pittman are our veterans. Burden expected to take a big year 2 leap. Ben Johnson. I mean, I'm not a. Ben Johnson's the biggest Luther Burden glazer out there, and it's crazy that people aren't listening more than they are. I think that Burden would be an early 4th round pick at this point. But I don't know. They're going to have to learn the hard way. Then you got Laporta, Kincaid, Cade Otton. So we did a good job here of getting a little Week 17 correlation, the game matchup, Laporta and Tesla with Luther Burden on that side. So we can look at our draft report here. It'll give you a quick recap, show your draft capital value, ADP value. We did some reaching here on running backs later just because we had to make sure to get them. But in general, got good value at quarterback, and then everything was pretty everything was pretty normal. We didn't get any crazy values, didn't do any crazy reaching, except for Denzel Boston. But as it gets later, it's much more acceptable to reach like that. So there we go, another one on the pile. And we will enter another one. We got 89 drafts left. This one's filling a little quicker. We could check out the exposures here quickly. Go to our completed drafts. We'll look at just our Best Ball Mania exposure. I like to look primarily at that one because that's where you're acting with your highest conviction. Let's check out the exposure. Tournaments only. Best Ball Mania VII. And that's probably the worst thing you want to see there. Brandon Ayuk at the top. That number will continue falling here as I stop drafting him. But yeah, I hate to see that. But all is not lost. You look past that and I feel a lot better about these guys. Brees, Boston, Surratt. So a lot of rookie wide receiver bets here. Boston, Surratt, Concepcion, Tyson. Your two leap guys, Jaden Higgins, Luther Burden. Some Broncos. Yeah, I've got a lot of CD. I like that. People are somewhat down on CD because of Pickens, and I think they're just forgetting who he is. I think people are going to relearn CD Lamb this year. All right, still waiting on two there. Let's look at these individually. Bonex number one is a little surprising, but maybe not considering how much I like to draft Jalen Waddle. RJ Harvey too, and Nix just has a tendency to fall in drafts. Nix and Goff both go in that same range, but can fall a decent amount depending on what these guys are doing with their stacks or other things. But I do like having Caleb and Daniels pretty high here. I want to get more exposure to these sixth round, that sixth, seventh round spot on in the drafts where the best quarterback bets are going. I mean, being able to get Lamar in the fifth, Daniels in the sixth, Jalen Hurts in the sixth, Drake May in the sixth. That's the pocket you want to be betting on. All of a sudden, people have stopped drafting. What are we doing? Let's see. Pulling for a one here. Always pulling for a one just because Jahmyr Gibbs is set up to be the best player in fantasy, and that's what you want. You want to have the best player. All right. We pulled the 10. A lot of badges in this draft, a lot of experience. Debo time. Drinking bleach. That's familiar. Joe Pia. Is this Joe Pisapia from Fantasy Pros? It might be. There are a lot of Italian people in the world, so it could just be a guy named Joe Pia. All right, with the 10 here, we have another opportunity to expand our exposure on CD Lamb. Taylor has continued to fall just a little bit. There's a good chance we could get a little Taylor here at number 10. But in general, I feel like people treat this as a tier. People seem to have some bias against CD Lamb. And that is how you profit. So I love a nice CD Ashton Genty, CD Hampton, CD Walker start. In general, Kenneth Walker's the guy that I think is going to be the big winner out of this early second round running back range. Genty's a little bit different at the turn there. I like Genty a lot as well, but past Genty, this kind of becomes the question. I think I take him over James Cook for sure. I think Genty belongs, in my mind, he's more up here. I do still mix him in a little bit because I don't want to be too overexposed on Genty, just because everyone can fail. So Genty, we got 13%. Hampton's high. I gotta get my Kenneth Walker up. Should probably get my Chase Brown up, but the James Cook fade continues. I like to bet on talent. I mean, yeah, James Cook is good, but I don't think he's that good. I think the offense is going to change a little bit this year. And Justin Jefferson at the 110. Kyler, please don't blow it. As far as Kyler, I tend to believe that they'll figure it out. He hasn't been very good in a while. Gets benched in favor of Jacoby Brissett, and the offense just takes off. So it could be another down year for Jefferson, but at the price of 110, it's certainly a price you got to pay in case people are forgetting who Justin Jefferson is. Probably the best receiver in the game. And they know they got to figure this out, because if they hit Justin Jefferson with poor QB play 2 years in a row, he's going to be asking for a trade. Granted, everyone does that when you're in Minnesota for any significant amount of time. You leave eventually, but it's really, if you can't put up numbers in Minnesota, then you really got to leave, because you know the ring's not coming. So we'd like to get Kenneth Walker here, but heck, I'll still take Genty if he comes back. Yeah, I have a hard time passing up the Genty value there over Walker, despite my desire to get him. Could argue Walker's the play there over Genty, just with touchdown upside. Both are going to be big workhorses for their offense. Both are going to see a lot of work in the receiving game too. So eventually there's going to be a time where I'm going to try and flatten out this exposure here. Or some more of the combination exposure. But yeah, I don't know. Just couldn't pass that one up. I do trust Genty with a big workload more than Kenneth Walker. Some might argue Walker needed Charbonnet in order to stay healthy, because he hasn't taken on a big workload in the league without breaking down a little bit. So that's one consideration, but in general, you can't really play scared like that with Walker. And I'm going to be drafting Kenneth Walker in the second round a lot this season in redraft. And that's really where you make your stands. Best ball, you're building these exposures and these portfolios. So you go into it knowing that some of these guys are going to fail. So you don't have to draft as scared as you do in redraft. But yeah, interesting start here. Let's look around and see what's going on. That was kind of the surprising one. There's a lot of Chase Brown fans out there. I'm not really sure what's causing it besides how he finished the season. But again, I mean, I like to make talent-based bets, and this is something I just won't do, is James Cook and Chase Brown. And yeah, that could be the combo that beats me, but if I have no money, at least I'll have principles. All right, so now we're gonna tag both our Jefferson and Genty teams and see who we've paired them up with in the past. Olave at 100%. Would love to get Ibuka here. Ibuka is a guy that I would like to have a lot of this year. He has a chance to rack up a ton of catches, being the number one guy in Tampa Bay, high volume pass offense. Ibuka, the year 2 bet. I'd really not like to have to draft Chris Olave here. Thank you. Really like not to draft T. Higgins either. Might go Lad. That doesn't feel very good either. I might just go Jalen Waddle. See who comes back. Fuck it. it's fun to do. It's fun to force people to make picks they don't want to, namely T. Higgins, because he's not sexy, misses time, isn't all that great, but plays in a really good offense. So that's the intrigue there. So I'd be happy to go Wilson McMillan here, one of these guys. Will not be drafting Javonte Williams. Probably for the rest of the season. All right. This is where it gets a little tricky. We are going to go McMillan. Yeah, the tiebreaker there was I have a decent amount of Garrett Wilson. I'm probably going to keep getting more of him. I want to make sure I have enough McMillan because the guy is an outstanding player. Despite the low passing volume offense. I mean, JSN was in a low pass volume offense last year. And he put up Offensive Player of the Year. So if you're able to consolidate targets in a way where you're truly dominating, which he could. Some might argue Jalen Coker could eat into him a little bit. Chris Brazzell just went down, so a bigger threat there for targets has been neutralized. But yeah, it's a bet on talent, and it's also just portfolio management, basically. But if I had one team, just one team, I probably would have clicked Garrett Wilson there. McLaurin falling all the way to the 5th here. A.J. Brown all the way back to the late 2nd. After he got traded to the Pats, he ran all the way up into early 2nd round territory. It's funny how much these guys can go back and forth when the attention's on them. Brown, he got traded. People started gassing him up. You know, you get guys on podcasts talking about these guys, and people, they buy it. They like being told what to do. Waddle was one of those guys, and I guess I'm contributing to that here, but I'll take DJ Moore here. Absolutely. I think the DJ Moore hate has gone far too far. And he's going to stunt on these hoes. We'll take a little Parker Washington, too, if he gets back here. Let's have a little fun. We got light receivers here. Yeah, it's hard to get that coming back. So we don't really have any quarterbacks available to us here on the turn, so odds are we'll be waiting for that Bo Nix, Kyler Murray tier. I kind of refuse to draft Bryce Young, and then we don't have the option of Josh Allen here. So Devontae Adams falls 13 picks. Unfortunately, this is a time where I'm going to just have to draft him. Devontae in the 6th is, again, portfolio management. I don't draft Devontae Adams much at all. So when you get the opportunities to draft them at a significant value, that's when you take them. Even though I probably do prefer Jordan Tyson straight up. But I have a lot of Tyson. There will be more days to draft Jordan Tyson ahead of us. But there's not many days that you get Adams at that price. So we've built out a pretty strong receiver room to start here. 1 running back, 5 wide receivers. So we'll ease up on receivers throughout the rest of the draft. Probably just go with 2 more and finish with 7. So it's going to be time to start hitting running back. somewhat hard, especially given how quickly they go on Underdog. We might be in a little trouble. We might not be. We'll see if we can get any gifts. But in general, most people want to be at 2 or 3 running backs at this point of the draft. And really, there's only 2 of us or 3 of us here that have gone light. So hopefully there will be opportunities as these guys start shifting to other positions for us to get some value at running back here. Tony Pollard still going up in the 6th round it's a pure dead zone running back play. It's all about projected volume. Going to be the starter, but Tennessee's going to be bad. Tony Pollard's 31. What are we doing? So, much rather draft Ramondre Stevenson, Jalen Warren. 2 guys who are both better players in better offenses. It doesn't make any sense to draft Tony Pollard. I wouldn't mind a little Tucker Kraft coming back here. That'd make me happy. Let's see. Let's see if James Tyler, both these guys have tight ends ahead of us. James Tyler might ruin my day. Ruin my day, James Tyler. That's a pretty nice team, though. I don't know why he wouldn't go Tucker Kraft. I mean, you just got to shake his hand. This is a strong-looking team. Finish me. There we go. All right. None of these quarterbacks, there's no real reason to do it. I'm not drafting Chuba Hubbard. I'm not doing it. Absolutely not. Now it's time to panic and take R.J. Harvey, a guy who is in a full-blown committee. Unimpressive year 1 as an old prospect, not something you want to see. But the upside case, R.J. Harvey makes a leap in year 2, shows improvement. He's still an explosive player in one of the best offenses in the league. He's a good, they used him in the red zone last year, good touchdown scorer. Do we go Dak here just at the value? Or do we go Rico Dowdle? Prefer not to go Dowdle. We may end up. Fuck it, let's go Corum. Let me play Corum. Yeah. See, that's the position you don't want to be in when you don't go RB early. Gets pretty dicey as it gets later. So Corum's an upside bet. Obviously, contingent value if Kyren Williams goes down. Corum becomes the starter in one of the best offenses in the league. But there should be enough run volume in LA to make this thing go where you can get 2 guys producing fantasy points. So the only thing is they're sort of inversely correlated with Devontae Adams being a red zone weapon. Corum, whoever's getting, if they lean more into the run game in the red zone or maybe they stick with Adams, it comes at the expense. Touchdowns are still king in fantasy football. So the only correlation here is more just the season-long bet that the Rams are running a good offense and they both kind of get theirs throughout the season. So all is not lost. But this is just where you kind of are a little uncomfortable. But, we're drafting like we're right. So now I have 3 running backs who I'm going to treat as if they are going to produce for me. Now we're just going to try to bank on a quarterback coming back to us. Eventually that opens us up to get Stafford and Nix and Kyler there. So the window's coming up here to get our quarterback. Chuba's fall continues for good reason. A guy who had some promise as a prospect, had 1 good year, but has never been all that good. Doesn't do breakaway runs. One of the worst offenses in the league. Jonathan Brooks is the better player, presumably. After coming back, offers a lot more explosion based on being a prospect. We'll see how well he's come back from the injury, but in general, just a low upside play with Hubbard. I think we'll go Stafford here first because Nix has a tendency to fall. But really, man, I can't believe Pittman's. Really, I just want to draft Michael Pittman. But sometimes, life's not about having fun. You just have to do things. Fuck. All right, you know what? I'm going Pitt, and Kyler goes. You know what? All right, we're going Pittman. Well, that was a bit surprising, I would say. Why did he take Kyler? Oh, he had Addison. So, that's something you got to do. You got to look at your room and see, yeah, so, okay, so classic mistake. Looking me right in the face here. He had Sutton. He had Addison. What do you think he's going to do? Nix, Murray. So, yeah, that's, rookie mistake on my behalf, really. You only have to push a guy 2 picks. I don't think any of them have any Rams. They don't. So, yeah, neither was going to take Stafford. So, should have gone Nix here. Or Murray. And then gotten Stafford on the way back. But we got a nice little wide receiver room here with Michael Pittman. Maybe we'll add on Aaron Rodgers later to get our get back at quarterback. Still no tight ends on this team. Getting to the area where we might want to get one. And I'll look at Dalton Kincaid here, betting on the Bills offense to pair with DJ Moore. Jordan Mason will probably come off the board here soon, but he's another guy that I will certainly take if he gets back. Chris Rodriguez, another interesting name there. Still want to keep hitting running back here pretty hard over the next few rounds. It dries up quickly at the end. I don't like betting on late round running back dart throws. They just don't pan out that often. Much rather take a receiver late that has a role and you're not taking zeros. Nothing worse than taking zeros. They're highly damaging in best ball, so you try to avoid those as best as you can. All right. Where's our Josh Allen drafter here? He is behind me. So, there goes Kincaid. All right. No, I'm not going Andrews. Tempted to go Keaton Mitchell. Maybe we'll go Chris Rodriguez and Keaton Mitchell and just be done at 5 for running backs. Jalen Naylor in the 12th. Nice. So, yeah, common sense says, take Mark Andrews at your almost 10 picks of ADP. But really, we're shooting for upside here. Mark Andrews doesn't have a lot left. If you want to talk about upside in the same role, we'll take Elijah Surratt in the very last round. So we're still tight endless. This is going to be one of those hit 3 late. We have 6 picks left, so at least 3 of them will be dedicated to tight ends. We might go fishing for Terrence Ferguson a little bit earlier than usual here because we have Stafford, have Devontae, we have Corn. We made a big Rams bet on this team. So to fill him in at tight end would be ideal. All right, 6 picks away. It'd be a shame if Cooper came all the way back. This is the range where I look at Cooper in Boston pretty much every time. There will be no Jonah Coleman today because we have Harvey. You don't want to bet on 2 running backs necessarily out of the same backfield on the same team. So, yeah, Gadsden will be the play. Good upside play at tight end. Top offense in the league. Big spike week ability. And we get him at very, very slight discount. So, Gadsden, come on down, be our first tight end here. Bryce Young, I will not be considering that. Do we go Juwan Johnson? I mean, he's slept on constantly. Always a back end, tight end 1. High volume. A lot of pass plays being run in New Orleans. So I just may here. Because we've got our running back set. Our receivers are pretty much set. We'll go Juwan. And with our quarterbacks are dwindling. Can go Mendoza late, pair him up with Ashton Genty. Should be throwing to Genty a good amount this year, so it's a better stack than most QB to running back. So could use a couple of these quarterbacks coming back to us. Bryce Young could come all the way back too. I mean, in that situation, that's where you would draft Bryce Young, especially because we have Tet. Otherwise, Bryce is typically just off the board. And most people feel the same way. I mean, if you have 2 quarterbacks, no one wants Bryce to be their third. Just doesn't really seem like there's a lot of upside, a lot of value to be gained there. We'll see about this guy with 1 quarterback. He's got Lamar, so he might be content. Let's see what his other weapons are. Might be a. Ooh. Oh no. There goes Bryce. Okay. All right. Now we'll go Rodgers. Let's see if he's got any Steelers. He does not. All right. Rodgers is all but ours. Terrence Ferguson is coming around the bend, though. Can we push Rodgers and get away with it? Let's see what Larry's doing here. Does he have any Steelers? He does have Tucker, so he might go Mendoza. No Steelers, though. I mean, I'd prefer to have Rodgers than Mendoza, the rookie quarterback. And there goes Ferguson. That's tough. All right, so we might just have to go 2 QBs here. There goes Rodgers. Everything is falling apart. So we will go Mendoza. Not the worst thing in the world, but, really, Ferguson and Rodgers were a step up there. So, our weak point on this roster is QB. Stafford doesn't run. Mendoza, rookie QB, runs a little bit, but in general, Vegas isn't projected to be all that good. So, we have a choice to make. Do we want to go TJ Hawkinson, Kate Otten? He does fit that Week 17 game, playing all of our Rams, versus TJ Hawkinson could very well be washed. But Kate Otten might not be any good. We're going to go Otten here. I do see a world in which Kyler just hits TJ Hawkinson with a bunch of checkdowns all year long. 4 yards, 5 yards. All right. So our remaining options for starters, Geno. Then you get into these later picks. I think Shedeur should be coming up a little bit here. I think the fans are booing Deshaun Watson at practice. Like it's ugly. It's bad. So I think Shedeur is going to win this thing, and if he doesn't, he'll be starting in short order. So I'm treating Shedeur like he's a starter, and it's only a matter of time before his price comes up. So no Browns on this team though. But if need be, let's break glass in case of emergency there with Shedeur. Pat Bryant is moving up now. There was a report yesterday that he could see an increase in work this year. That was to be expected already. Bryant was clearly the receiver 3 down the stretch last year. And he's just a better prospect than Troy Franklin. So yeah, Pat Bryant's a guy I liked a lot late. I drafted a lot of him, so I'll probably be easing off that as his price goes up. But so the bags were packed. All right, Calvin Ridley with a good fall here. Then he goes. Maybe we'll do a little Sean Tucker because we passed on him last draft. But it feels a little unnecessary to do that. I kind of want to stick with 5 running backs here. Maybe we'll go Keenan Allen. Once he signs, his price will shoot up. But are any of these guys going to go Shedeur? All right, we're going Keenan. So yeah, with the way this quarterback room is, we'll be betting on Stafford to be our one horse to start the year because Mendoza's probably going to sit maybe 3 or 4 games. I'd expect him to get on the field pretty quick. Cousins is just about done. Yes, still always just tempted to go Surratt here, but I think let's go Sanders. I think this room could use that third quarterback. So that does it for this draft here. 3-5-7-3. Stafford, Mendoza, Sanders. 1 running back early here with Genty, and then we took a lot of receivers and went Harvey, Corum, Chris Rodriguez, Keaton Mitchell there to round it out there. Some upside plays. Then receiver, the crown jewel of this team, Jefferson, Waddle, Tet, DJ Moore, Adams, Pittman, Keenan Allen, and then 3 later round tight ends in Gadsden, Juwan Johnson, and Cade Otton. Yeah, it's not one of those teams that makes you feel amazing. It's kind of an ugly team, I would say. But it's not the prettiest teams that always win. So, another one on the pile there. And that will do it for us today. 2 drafts in the books, 2 BBMs. We have about, 88 left to do. So, if you tuned in, thank you for being here. And we will see you next time.